Well, good morning. Let's go back to this was on yesterday. If you be willing and obedient, you'll eat the good of the land, wear the good of the land, drive the good of the land, live in the good of the land. But if you're willing to live in a little bitty apartment, then that's what you'll have all the days of your life. If you're willing to be, well, we got enough money to get by. We can buy groceries, we can pay our rent, we can pay our utility bills, then that's what you'll have. I'm not willing to just barely get by. Now, I'm going to tell you a story I've told you before. When I was a kid, we lived on the third house from the end of the road on a dirt road, and we had 2 bedrooms and a path. Some of y'all will get that after a while. We were not very rich. We were just living in a poor community. I'm just an old country boy. Can't help that, born that way. Not really ashamed of it. My daddy did the best that he could for what he could do. But we only had 1 baseball and 1 ball in the community, and it was mine. Now, I was the youngest of the bunch. We'd play sandlot ball, but we called it cow pasture ball. It was my ball, it was my bat. And when I came up to bat, I always got on, because if I didn't, I'd take my bat and ball and go home and the ball game would be over. Well, now, what does that have to do with spiritual things? Listen, watch this. I'm going to turn the camera just a little bit. It's my bat. It's my ball. I've been promised the victory because Jesus told me, he that's within me is greater than he's in the world. And if God be for you, nobody can effectively be against you. It's my bat and it's my ball. And I got one more thing to say to that. God's my umpire. He's calling this game in my favor. In fact, he's already promised me the victory. So what you got to do is realize that with faith, nothing is impossible. But you've got to be not willing to put up with the curse. You're redeemed. Christ hath redeemed you from the curse of the law, Galatians chapter 3, verse 13, so that the blessing of Abraham might come on the Gentiles. You're supposed to be blessed just like Abraham was, but you've been tolerating the stuff that the world and religion tells you got to have. You read these things on Facebook, Well, if you got up this morning and you got a roof over your head, you got food to eat, you got something to be thankful for. Yes, but that's not all that you have. Somebody says, well, I'm 60 years old and I'm still here. Yes, but you promised 120, and the Bible doesn't tell you to downsize when you get ready to retire. The Bible says, Psalm 112, we shall always be on the increase. Be like Caleb, 85. I'll take my mountain. Don't settle for just barely enough to get by. Believe God for millions. Believe God for divine health, to be stronger than you've ever been, feel better than you've ever felt, do more than you can ever do, because God's on the inside of you and he wants you to have great victory and to always win. Be willing to only have the best. It's your ball, it's your bat, God's the umpire, we win. Jesus is Lord, word works.